We're going to return now to Dublin Airport. Aengus Cox is there this morning. Aengus, you're in the departures area of Terminal 1. Is anybody going anywhere?
A good question, Mary. Yes, well, some people are going somewhere. Good morning from Dublin Airport. I'm standing just below the flight information board, and there are still a lot of flights going out of Dublin Airport this morning to places such as Frankfurt, Basel, Madrid and Milan. But normally today, the 21st of December, will be one of the busiest days over the Christmas period. This time last year, for example, we could expect to see around 70,000 passengers in and out of the airport. Not so today, where there'll be just around 4,000 people. So a significant drop off. COVID-19 obviously has decimated Christmas air travel already, but now today the addition of the temporary ban on incoming flights from Britain. I'm right beside the departure gates, as I said, here in Terminal 1. Still some outgoing flights, but this of the flight information board largely tells its own story. Cancelled. Ryanair flights to Luton, to London, Aer Lingus flights as well. And I'm joined by Eoghan Corry, who's going to decipher some of this and explain what it all means, I suppose. Eoghan is editor of Air and Travel magazine. Good morning to you, Eoghan.
Morning, Angus.
So while most air traffic between Ireland and Great Britain has been cancelled, there are still 26 flights landing in Dublin today from Great Britain. Who's on those flights?
Well, we've 26 inbound, and some of those have been cancelled. A lot of them would have been based in Dublin on their way out. But Aer Lingus are bringing home people who booked, for instance, New York, Boston, Chicago, back through Dublin Airport, very popular route into England. And flights have taken off, for instance, to Edinburgh and Gatwick. Some of those have only 2 or 3 passengers, but it's Aer Lingus' duty to bring people home. Sadly, they're coming back in the other direction empty, because one of the big uncertainties of all of this is transit passengers. People transiting through Dublin are being looked after. People transiting through Heathrow, either outbound or coming back in the other direction. Although Eamon Ryan said they will be looked after, there's no certainty of what's happening there.
But from the airline perspective, Eoghan, both the Irish airlines, Ryanair and Aer Lingus, they've been quick out of the blocks to say in the first instance they're going to be repatriating customers as quickly as they can, but also they were very, very vocal about refunds.
Both of the Irish airlines, Aer Lingus and Ryanair, have been very clear. If you cancel your flight as a result of this, you get refunds. That is not the case with all airlines. A lot of them talking vouchers, rescheduling. Obviously, you can reschedule as well. Airlines have got better at this. In the scale of things, the numbers affected here wouldn't compare with what happened, for instance, on March the 12th, when Poland suddenly closed its borders. A lot of 120,000 Polish people living in Ireland, a lot of people caught on either side of that. The airlines have got better at the crisis, and they have a clearer plan of action than they did back in March. At one stage, 24 countries had closed their borders. The real question here are the uncertainties. Will this be extended? And people who are travelling today, remember, they've already made the decision to travel and clear to travel out of Tier 4 in England. That means that it's necessary travel. So the only people affected coming in today would be people who were already deemed necessary travel. Their only outlet was Belfast. 38 flights arriving into Belfast. You could see the prices of those flights climbing yesterday, but obviously Northern Ireland will be making its own decisions this week on that.
And another important element of this, Eoghan, because this all happened, of course, very, very quickly, there is the aspect of freight travel as well, and that's a very significant component.
Airlines really need a combination of freight and passenger. It doesn't really work that you fly freight only, although there are some that fly freight only. So all of that, it brings it clear out that if you mess with one part of the equation of airline economics, it's other parts that you don't expect start breaking down. Freight travel, a huge issue, because France has closed the freight to Britain, and the ferries, of course, are operating today. Supposed to be about 400 on Stena, and maybe the same on Irish ferries. They'd be travelling without passengers, they'd be travelling with freight, but all of that is still uncertain, and we could have people using the land bridge cut out.
Okay, so much uncertainty still. Eoghan Corry, editor of Air and Travel magazine, thank you very much. And I'll hand back to you in studio now, Mary, from what is still a relatively busy Dublin Airport, but nothing like we would have expected in previous years.
Aengus, thank you very much. 9:02.